I'm so excited to sit here together with you, Charlotte, one of my closest friends here in Portugal. I've been asked many times around, what has happened in the past years. And you were there, you saw me, you witnessed all the things. So why not have a conversation about that with a person that has been with me in the ups as well as in the lows. Yeah. We shared a lot together. So thank you for having me.
This already makes me a little bit emotional. We haven't seen each other in 4 months. And the first thing I saw when we just met outside, I was like, wow, she changed. And in the good way, like you glow, it's not just your appearance, but there is something in the energy that changed as well. So I'm very curious to hear what happened over the last months. And we can dive a little bit deeper in the almost 3 years that we know each other. And indeed, we shared the highs, the lows, and the Capricorn side of like only this giggly dancing on the table version of ourselves feels safe to be seen when we're connecting with someone that can truly hold us and all our emotion and that is there all the way. I'm super excited as well to be sharing this experience with you. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, here's to Capricorn friendship.
Tell me, those 4 months, like so much changed. What happened?
Yeah, what happened? I mean, what I also shared on social media was my marathon training, which initially it was just a goal, something of like, can I be able to do that? But what this physical training and exercise really led to was like major shifts in everything. And at the same time, it might be that I haven't even shared that with you. I'm not sure, but like talking about highs and lows, like on the 8th of April, it was a solar eclipse. I started with my personal training. 2 weeks later, I signed up for the marathon. I had just come back from TEDx, and like a week beforehand, my mom and I got into an argument, like literally 24 hours after TEDx and after celebrating and cheering. And what was new for us, like we are used to arguments, right? But what was new was that she decided she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And I know my mom, so it's said in a moment of anger. Like I don't see it as a forever kind of thing, but that's where we are at. And to go through that low and to go through what it brought up for me on all things, to go through that low and to look at all things like mother wound, inner child healing from a new different perspective, while at the same time going through major physical shifts and changes. It was very transformative. And there was a moment when I had to choose, am I going to be a victim of this? Like, oh, my mommy doesn't talk to me anymore and I'm like victim of my childhood story. Or do I take it as yet another round of like, all right, here I am, better equipped than ever with all my tools, talking about relationships, talking about, the attachment styles that we have, and yet another form of like, can I find that unconditional love while also, not denying what is happening and really, own my story and go and grow through it. So like those were like big things happening. TEDx, my mom, the marathon, my body really needing a lot of sleep and being in a lot of pain. And at the same time, really focusing on business. It's like the one thing when you looked at me, right, you were like, let me guess, like you have seen someone. And I'm like, I think I've seen me from a whole different level. It's a new version of being in relationship with me and really like understanding even more about me. All of a sudden, I'm an athlete. All of a sudden, I'm like, who am I if I don't call my mom every Sunday? Like, who is that version of me? And then really focusing on business, on modern couples, joining the podcast lab. Like many things were just there to catapult me into doing things, going out, be seen, And something that I've been somewhat missing for the last 3 years, because I was in a state of like, where is my home? Where are my roots? And to find routines. I mean, talking to a Capricorn, right? We thrive in routines. Like, I don't want to settle down in routines and be boring, but I establish routines, my morning dip, my runs, my coaching schedule is more stable than ever. The walks with my dog, and just from that grounding that I found here in neighborhood, in friends, and just being here, that's where all of a sudden, I can really lean into this experience. And oh my gosh, I'm celebrating again, another Capricorn joke. I have this thing, but I'm celebrating like so many. Yesterday, I pulled away so many stickers from my to-do list. I'm like,
I know how that feels. Very Capricorn side.
Oh my gosh, so liberating. I'm like, what am I going to do next?
Yeah. I love that we get to share this side of us that is very similar in that way. But most of all, I love like looking back at the preparation for the TED Talk, which was insanely intense. I saw you focusing like a real Capricorn woman, going all in, no doubts, just doing the stuff that needs to be done in combination with learning Portuguese. Like no other person would do that. So intense. And then, coming out, like the TED experience being great, but then the conflict with your mom happening at such an important moment in your life. And I remember you coming back home, probably one of the first people that saw you back here. And
true, because you were with Deva.
I was dog-sitting Deva.
Yeah.
And something I really admire about you is that you have the capacity to be there with your emotions, but at the same time also look at from a whole different perspective. Like take a step back, see the bigger picture, see the learning, see the tools that you can use while still feeling all the hardness it can bring up. And that's something I always admired in you. Like you can do both. You can own your emotions without getting lost, and you can look at this from, okay, what can I learn? Where can I grow from this? And that experience, I think, brought you to where you are today. Like the dedication that you can bring at the same time, allowing the emotions to come. So it's great to see you thrive like this. And those last months, you unlocked a whole other level.
And more to come.
Yeah. And I remember looking back through those years, you said like there was a time where you had like to choose, where am I gonna build those roots, where I'm gonna invest in community, because it's an investment. Like you invest your time, your energy. And I remember at a certain point you were living between here and Bali, and it brought a little bit of a disconnection. Like the months you were not here, it felt like, okay, you're growing stronger in community, I'm not, and now I'm living a little bit further away from Ericeira, and I feel the same. I'm going through that same phase. Like, where do I feel the connection with community? So can you elaborate a little bit more of how you made that decision and how you grow that community around you?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for that question and for bringing back that memory, because, I mean, this is basically picking up after my TEDx talk, but like I lost my home, I lost my source of income. I had to make a decision if I leave my friends and everything that I knew, and like I didn't have. I just knew I'm not gonna stay in Stuttgart where I was living back then, and it was in that one summer where the world just turned upside down, and I had the opportunity to go to Bali to live with a community. To live around entrepreneurs, and to just be with people. And at the same time, I had just gone through my heartbreak in Ericeira, where I knew what I would sign up for. At least I knew there are some people that I'm going to feel safe with. So that was really a moment where I no roots, no decision. And somehow I got the chance to just do both. Be in Portugal and then sign up for Bali 6 months. And I'm so grateful that all of that was possible. And on a logical sense, I could not have planned for it. It just all fell into pieces. But Bali set free this knowing about myself, how important community, tribe, and like neighborhood is for me. In Bali, I really learned that about me of like, I don't just want to be in a place and be strangers with neighbors. I want to have people around me that I can see for my breakfast, and I want to know how they are doing on let's say a weekly base, right? But it was just a whole new experience of how village life could look like. And I really took that to heart. And at the same time, that community village, it did not give, like it was not meant to be a lifelong thing. So I really feel like I took the beautiful side of it, learned that, and then, coming back to Portugal, exactly as you share, I was like, wow, you are so connected here in the last 6 months, being here, and I feel like a stranger, and I don't know how to connect and how to reconnect. And having experienced that, I think there was a moment when I really learned, and you said it, like you have to be here a winter, like for people to see you, right? And it's like, it's so logical, but but I needed to get there. Get there. And first I needed to get some other things into my system. So after a summer in Portugal, I returned to Bali. And in Bali, I really got like second winter in Bali, second winter I missed in Portugal out. But that moment in Bali, wherever I went, every apartment was full of mold or noises or mosquitoes, or I couldn't get the perfect place. I just prayed for a place where my toothbrush has a home. That was literally my prayer. And I was so sick of putting my toothbrush into my bag and living in a place with mold. And I just wanted to have my altar, my place and my home and unpack and be there. And then you sent me a message saying, here's your dog. Are you ready for it? And I was still in Bali. And I feel like all of this was just, meant to bring me to that place. Like it was one side of the extreme. And then the story of Deva is a whole story, not for today, but when I arrived here, I said, I'm here to fully be present. I'm here to I don't want to go, I just want to wake up, dive into life, be connected with people, embrace the dog life. And really what it brought to me was my daily routines, connecting with neighbors, seeing neighbors every day and embracing that sort of conversation. It's a different conversation when you see each other every day. And, people who know me know I'm always, up for the deep conversation. And to just have that lightness as well and to rely, by now there's such a level of trust in neighborhood. Whereas in Bali, I would see how houses that were newly built, you couldn't build the wall high enough. It was always too low. You could still see a little bit of your neighbor and let's build it even higher. And it looked like people were building their own prisons, their own golden, white prisons, to not see their neighbors. And here I am please let me, I want to be there for my community. I want people to know where to meet me. I want people to know I'm here. I want people to know I'm going to be here and I contribute to community. So all that journey really led me to Portugal is my place. This community is my place. And I'm going to be here for whatever life throws at us, like an earthquake the other day.
That was very recently, actually.
Yeah.
Looking back at you already made a bit of a distinguish between living in Bali, living in Portugal, but maybe for everyone out there, it might be good to go a bit deeper. What is the big differences that you experienced between living in Bali 2 winters long and being here, where the winter can be quite rough, if you want to ask me?
Yeah, weather definitely a thing. For me, Bali was a journey of going inwards, and every time I went to Bali, I came back a different person. There was always something being shown to me, not always easy. But Bali is a place for me of fast growth. I mean, Bali attracts people from around the world to bring their top knowledge or top offerings, and it's like a place where anything is possible. In the first winter, I learned this tribal side of me. It really got activated, and I embraced communities, circles, singing circles. I myself challenged myself to prove that relationships are hard work. Wrong. I wanted to go there and see that community can be easy. And while there was a lot of social media backlash on, when the village was terminated, for me, I take gratitude and I take that lightness with me. It's like I am at full peace with that. The second winter was all about diving more into the world of plant medicine, and the teachings there that I had with locally grown mushrooms, they unlocked a new side in my brain and in my connection with Mother Earth that really set off some major shifts in my life. Also the roots, right? So the fastness of learning, that's for me Bali. And you never know what you get, and it's going to be extreme. To the point where I felt like I also just want grounding. I lack that. I lack that there. It's a come and go of people, which is on the one side really beneficial, and on the other side, I never felt safe there. Basically, you are tolerated there as a tourist, as an expat, right? And it's like there is this balance, but at the same time, you are always somewhat at risk that someone might just say you need to leave the country. So for me, living in Portugal, living here where I live, feels much more grounding. In that sense of like in every way, I feel more safe. In like things are just more clear. Things move a little bit slower, and at the same time, when you connect with people over time, there is the same sort of entrepreneurial drive, and you can build the things that you think I need to go to Bali for. Like you can still build and create your dreams. This is a place of so much craftsmanship, and I mean, this podcast lab wasn't here a year ago, right? So like I can see entrepreneurship, and I can see a stability that I couldn't see in Bali. And for me, it's like perfect balance here, calming for my nervous system, offering similar experiences. Sometimes, simply put, like Bali is more of like pop colors. Like that's really how I also bring in the Bali lifestyle. And Portugal is more of like earthy tones, more the connection to earth. And this is so to say in memoriam, and to bring that side in a little bit, while at the same time really being happy here.
Yeah. So Portugal feels more grounding, and therefore also like connecting to your experiences here with Portuguese men. I know there was like more than one guy, but there was a Portuguese man a while ago where the attraction was definitely from both sides. Yet I witnessed that story from close up, and I'm wondering if you can elaborate a bit more on that.
Talking about dating, I mean, the last 3 years were definitely such an expansive time for that. So there was this man that I met here, and it was you were there. I was crazy about him, and there was a moment when there were several weeks when it was really likewise. But what he inspired in me was, I really want to craft a relationship vision of like, he unlocked a part of my brain where I could see like, okay, new vortex opening, and like, I don't want to do anything less than that. Like, and I created a whole vision board, and it was like, sometimes I felt like the dates that I went to, the men that I got to meet over the last year, they each were there to inspire something, and to really find out who I am and what I want in my like next big relevant relationship. So with him, it was I felt I could see the potential. I could see the vision of us and how we would, support each other, and I could see the vision board, and yet, and it was with a moment of plant medicine that it was very clear. It's not him. Like, he's a muse. He's someone who inspires the side in you, but he's not ready to live up to that vision. Like. And he would say that, like, that vision is not what he can offer right now, or he can offer yet. But I was so grateful because beforehand there was like an empty page there, and then all of a sudden there was this vision. But there was a moment when it was clear of like, oh, he's not ready for this, and I felt, do I just step back and say, okay, then whatever, or do I try to rewrite the story that we have around men and women of like who gets to chase whom and who stands up for what? And I felt like what would be my biggest regret afterwards? Like stepping back and letting that opportunity just go because he's not doing something, or stepping up and actually, make myself even more vulnerable, and, show up for one another. And it is something where I feel I am very proud that I have by now this moment where I can show up vulnerable and say, look, like this is my heart and this is my dreams, and if you want, like I see there's potential, but I'm not shying away from you being insecure. Like, you can be insecure and I'm still going to be here next week, right? It's not like my feeling towards our future do not change in a moment where you are insecure about something. And I think that's something where many early on relationships really struggle in this dance of like, if you just have one moment of insecurity, then it makes me feel insecure. And then we are in that loop of like constant, can I trust? Will you still be there? Will you not be there? And to hold in and really check in with your heart and the future that you see. And are you ready to just trust and just lean into that and trust that it will be something good for you in the whole experience, even if it doesn't happen in that way, right? Like, so status now is no, nothing happened like for a while and nothing is going to happen, right? But do I feel resent about what I did? Like, not at all. I feel like the courage in my heart. I feel the gifts that this experience brought to me. I feel the clarity around I can hold myself in emotional moments, in moments when another person, and let's talk about trauma bonds for a moment, but this attachment style, this anxious attachment style that I would consider myself having imprinted from childhood on, this moment where I experience I can hold myself even when a person that I am attaching with is leaving. I can still hold myself and I can just be there, and I don't need to cling and I don't need to make a drama. It's like that is where I feel, yes, I'm really recovering from a trauma bond. Like, I got myself. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking, you know me well, we have the same attachment style, I've been trapped in a certain loop for way too long. So what would you suggest that people like me would do to get out of this loop?
Where are you at these days?
It's complicated, as always. Yeah, it's the thing. Like, when you have secure attachment, but when you have insecure attachment, when there is this push and pull, it's a certain kind of addiction. And the moment you have to untangle it and let go, it comes with all kinds of emotions, big emotions. And it's not like super easy to just say cut and be let go forever. So yeah, this is something that we had this conversation over the last years many times. Yeah. And I know you sometimes wanted to kick me in the butt and say, Charlotte, please.
Just call me first.
What would you suggest that if you start seeing this early on when you start dating, not after 3 years, but like in the beginning when you start dating, what would you say when a person is not yet able to fully hold herself and to witness this? What would you say are the small tools, techniques in your toolbox that could help someone?
First off, like, I don't shame around a trauma bond. There's relationships working great in that pattern, right? I think it's empowering to know your attachment style, because it helps you, even in a moment afterwards, categorize things and integrate things better. And situation after situation, you get more frustrated about the same things repeating, more motivation to change something eventually. So you are on a good path. I think it helps to, like, the attachment, this need for attachment comes usually from, it could be like the lack of roots, like something that gives you stability, right? If you feel very stable in who you are, where you are at, let's say your support group around you, it enables you also in a moment where you're like, but he's leaving, or I want him to also, you know, have something to fall back into. So, but if you really want to work on that attachment style, right, to understand where it's coming from and to do some healing work, I do inner child journeys where we, you know, look at what could have happened in the past. I don't just look at inner child, I also look at past breakups and past stories of heartache, because each of these moments of an end can potentially be the reason for why you are anxious. Even now forming, it could also be a loss of job. Like just these moments when out of the blue you lose trust into someone and something. That's a moment where, you know, healing can happen. And in the end, I think this learning of holding yourself, like you're increasing your capacity to hold yourself in all emotions. And I think it is something that we need to understand as a concept. Like, part of maturation is understanding that nobody is coming to save you other than yourself, right? Even though we want our parent to come, our partner to come, someone to see me as I'm suffering and get me out of it. But there might be moments when it's really nice to co-regulate and have someone, but part of becoming an adult and really becoming, you know, your true self is to know I got myself, no matter what. So learn how to dance with your emotions and embrace that, even like change the mindset around, oh, sadness or anger or fear is something bad, but really like become more playful with it, right? I mean, in that time, was I at my highest self and dancing and just celebrating? Like, no, I was sitting in like sorrow and sadness, and then I had to pick me up. But I think it helps to, you know, to write down these things, and especially in a society where, with people moving around the world, I have seen the beauty of having friends for a long time, because to have a friend to call you out on that, much rather than a new person who hardly knows you and who's like, oh yeah, you know, it wasn't the right one, oh da 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 da. But sometimes, like for me, the quality of friendship is really also like, can I be that mirror and not shame or blame you and just be there? Okay, it's the 10th time. I still have time for it. Like, I'm still going to be there, you know, do your thing, but feel safe with your friends to share that and have your friends to say, all right, are you happy with that? Do you want to do something different next time? Let's do that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm learning from you as well. Like, what can we do different the next time? Like, I came back to the point where I had the tendency to run away from relationships as well. Like, I was anxious attached, but also running away, to the point where you also said, like, can I have the courage to say, I'm in this, I'm going to try, not with whatever outcome I want it to be, but just for myself. Can I make the decision for myself? I'm staying, learning that about myself, growing the roots. Yet, even if this goes right or wrong, it's all good. Like, this is okay. Because I know there is this story, like, if we change too fast, one relation after another, you just get the same story with a different jacket. It's just the same stuff that comes up. So what would you say, like, when you meet someone new, or you have a breakup, a couple of weeks, months later, you meet someone new, what would you say do differently this time?
Yeah, so first off, like, there is no right timing as to when to start a new relationship, right? Like, humans have come up with like all sort of rule of thumbs around when is the right time. There is no such thing. You know, if you, I believe that everything is unfolding the way it's supposed to. And if something, you know, if you meet another person and you are actually not interested in changing anything, well then, you know, it's just going to unfold the way it's supposed to, and you're going to have the same jacket again. Exactly. If you are actually, you know, I think the way you end a relationship says a lot about, you know, your character, and also sets the tone for the next relationship. So ending a relationship in grace, ending a relationship in full appreciation for one another, learning to forgive, learning to, you know, reflect, learning to see where was my part in this. It doesn't mean that we still agree on everything after the breakup, but like the way you end things shapes your next relationship, the pain that you take into it or the trust that you take into the next one. So first off, I would say start by really looking into your past relationships and heal those heartaches that are still there. Try to do that before you go into the next relationship so that you don't take your past trauma into that. Now, I believe that moments of crisis, like heartache, they can be very powerful, very transformative. They open a portal, a vortex to a new version of you if you are open to that. And from my experience, it does take some cocooning time to come out of that, right? So I don't know how long the cocooning time is, but this idea of like rising phoenix from the ashes, like it's an empowering time to end a relationship and find out who you are on a whole deeper, different level. And from there to start a new relationship, there is like this one very critical moment. It's like when you meet a person and you feel that attraction, like that's the most critical moment to look at for you, and to catch yourself and potentially hold in for a moment and check in, like, what is the attraction? What is happening here? And also really be honest with yourself. Am I just craving for another relationship? Oh, this idea that I don't have to be alone finally. Oh, I don't have to carry the burden of being labeled single for X amount of time. Someone is coming to rescue me. Here is a relationship. Am I just letting go of potential standards that I actually have? Am I just buying the same story with a different person? Like, is this the relationship that I desire for potentially the rest of my life? A yes or a no? Because YOLO, right? Like, you're never going to be at that point of time again. So really make sure that the next person that you want to fall in love with, like, really helps you become the person who you want to be next to that person. You are not falling for a person and just drowning in their energy. You are falling in love with the version of who you get to be next to them, right? So who do you want to be in the future? Who do you, like, what do you want to have mastered potentially for becoming a mother, right? What do you want to have healed for that version of yourself, so that you can attract a person who meets you on that level? Like, I felt in the last years that I was literally doing research on the kind of love and relationship that I didn't even know existed beforehand, because I hadn't seen that in my role models, in my neighborhood, and friends around me. I was literally doing research on how else can a relationship look like? What are factors that, you know, I want to have in my life, and for the next relationship that I'm calling in and that I want to have in my life? I really want to make sure that I am who I need to be to call in that energy, and that I hold up my vision and my standards very clearly, inviting also the other person in to meet me there, to share their dreams. And in that, it does require, like, going back to the moment that you described of, like, how do I not repeat the same things and what to do there? I do think it does take some time, inner work, and it can be a beautiful process if you let go of the fear of being single, because it is not your identity. Like, it's not, like, we need to get away from this label and identity thinking of a person is, you know, we say in a relationship or a single, and like we need to let go of that label, I think we would have far better relationships all around us if people were to embrace that phase where the universe somewhat, gave them the opportunity to find out who you are and to think about really what you want. We do that in business all the time. It's such a normal business practice, right? Like, we sit there, we think about where do we want to go, we make a plan of how to get there, who do we need to become, what do we need to, like, in business, we do that all the time. But in relationships, we are like, I hope we just match. I hope my prince just comes along and, there's just instant chemistry. And what is this instant chemistry? It's usually, a trauma bond. It's usually, again, taking away the shame and the blame, but it's usually something unhealed from the past. And I kind of have this theory whereby, we have far more people out there that are either anxious avoidant than secure. So if you are a person who has done a lot of inner work, who would describe themselves as securely attached, there is not much bonding going on for you in this world. And that's the unfortunate downside of, like, if you become your own independent self, I'm not talking about, a strong independent, I don't need anyone, but if you got yourself, it can even trigger other people because they don't know how to bond with you. Like, fear can be very attractive. Like surrendering to that dance can be very attractive. So what I want to encourage, like, anybody who is in that phase of, like, in between, or potentially not even in between, but like fully present with being with yourself in relationship, embrace that time and really make it count and really find out what you want, and how to go into that direction. Especially if you are, especially as a woman, I think it's true for both sides, to call each other into greatness and to challenge each other in the dating process. What do you want to build? Like, make it intentional, make your dating experience intentional, and learn to be okay with the other person saying, no, oh, I want something else. Great. Like, you have more time to meet another person on that level. Don't take these things personal. It's totally okay to not have many matches. It's totally okay to, be intentional about the matches that you have. And last but not least, what I want to say about the phase of being single, if you have friends around you, let them know that they should introduce, people that they think are a good match. Because there is a different level of trust if people in your network, in your community meet each other. And I think it used to be so common in ancient times that we need to remember to introduce each other just like we would in the business world, where we introduce each other all the time. Can still do that for love.
Completely agree on that one. I know that you also work a lot with human design. Is that something for yourself, but also for other people, that you do early on? Like, you meet someone, 3 dates in, I'm pretty sure you figure out his birth chart and, like, okay, I'm going to do this little human design. What would you look for? And would you recommend other people to also check human design early on and while dating someone?
I'm just thinking of, there used to be a time when we would instantly check the names of, like, how does my name sound if I put his name, to mine? Like, that used to be the compatibility check.
It's, where were you born? What time? Can you ask your mom what time you were born?
And then for him, it's already a red flag. Yeah. But no, actually, I've met more people who were open to that and were curious about that. And especially if you are new into astrology and human design, you have to ask these things. I mean, it's also gathering information and building trust with that tool. Like, does it say things or no? Yeah. So I'm definitely doing the human design compatibility check early on, not just for me, but for all my friends. Yeah. Like, get that data. Let's look at it. I love doing that. I think there is some great insights in that. And I was just listening to a podcast from the founder, from the person who channeled human design, and he talks about relationship, right? It's one of our big life topics. So he talks about the importance of entering a relationship in the right mechanics. Human design offers you a life plan and map where for each individual it's like a unique fingerprint of your gifts, your talents, the way you experience life, the way people see you, the way you see yourself, your shadows. Like, there is so much in there. It's really rich. But just as simple as decision making, or just as simple as tendency to express your wants and desires, something that is so big in relationships. Like, you can understand the mechanics of it in yourself, how you derive to a decision, how good you are at feeling what you want, what you don't want, how you talk to another person in which kind of energy, and how that might be perceived. And to do that instead of, let's say, especially in a dating phase, very often we are more concerned with how will the other person perceive me? Ooh, I really want to do these things right. And that's where many of the problems come from that we have in a future relationship, because we didn't enter with the correct mechanics in place, as you would say in human design terms. So for me to embrace more of my mechanics and really see how do people, even friends, respond when I'm very fast at decision making, when I'm very blunt around what I want and what I don't want. When I say this and tomorrow say something else, or when I might come off as very, self-centered, or like all these things, to own it rather than to try to be someone else has become so liberating for me, and has brought some of the strongest relationships into my life. And so I want to encourage individuals to understand their design, but also be playful with it and embracing more of the mechanics. Because, like, if you have a person who has the emotional center open and a person who has the emotional center defined, that's usually a big conflict block in a relationship.
Can you take 3 steps back? Talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. I have no clue what an emotional center defined and an emotional center open actually is.
Yeah. So when you look at the map, it's the same shape of a body that we see, but you will see somewhat that looks like 9 centers, almost as the chakra body that we know from yoga maybe, or from India. The chakras that are aligned in the body. Just in human design, there's 3 more. And the emotional center, I like to even show it in the body. But the emotional center is, so to say, one energy center. And by the time of birth and 3 months before birth, the constellation of the planets at those points in time activate certain gates that are in a human design chart, 46 gates, based on the Chinese I Ching. And depending on those gates activated, the human design chart all of a sudden is colored and mapped. And if you have from one center to another, both gates activated, these centers are activated and colored as well. And the emotional center being one of those energy forces almost, right? It's like, that's really the center where emotions are formed and expressed in the world. So a person that is defined there is really an emotional being that potentially experiences lives in waves of like all the way up, excitement, and all the way down, deep sorrow, deep sadness, and life is just full of emotions, and they can dance with emotions if they have learned, how to be with that. For a person who is emotionally open, not defined, I easily get drawn into other people's emotion, and I need to figure out what is mine and what is theirs. Because, like, let's say in comparison, my emotions in my day-to-day are somewhat more like I'm generally content, and then if I'm around people, depending on how they are, I might go up or down. And I have this very often in couples that one person might be like, I want to feel you better. I want to hear more of your emotions. I want to, have more of that with you. And I want you to be there when I share my emotions. And it's very often the person who is defined there, and they are just, I need you to be more of that. And then we have that other person that is just like, I don't know how to, like, I'm overwhelmed with emotions. I don't know what to do with emotions. Like, I love when you are in a good mood. It's like my life is amazing when you are in a good mood. But then there are days when, like, I was working, I was doing fine, I was doing my thing, and all of a sudden you come home and I'm like a mess. What did just happen? And to realize that, there's nothing right or wrong with each individual, but to let go of this expectation that the other person is going to experience emotions the same way. For the couples that I've shared that information with, it was groundbreaking for them to just let go of this idea that we need to be equal on that level. And for the person who is emotionally open to find a way of like being present with the other person's emotions while at the same time, being with themselves and also being able to distance themselves if they need that. How can we stay in connection as a couple and at the same time not always drowning together? Because that's what's happening in those couples. But so I would recommend a compatibility check, or I would recommend like understanding your human design at any phase of your life. It's it's helping you as an individual, and it's helping you in relationships with others, generally with others. And it's, for me, it's the most sincere tool to use, because it's not a you should do this, you must do that strategy kind of approach. It's more of like tune in with yourself. Check really if what you have been doing is truly you, or if there was a projection, a trauma, a wound hindering you from really living your power, your human design. And from that, you're going to meet a person, you're going to match with a person, love partner, friends, who, if the mechanic is right and if they are also, true to themselves, boom, like that's where the power comes from. This idea of like, I support you, you support me. I am not equal, but we are, equally worthy, and we are supporting each other. And I can let go. I can understand. We really learn from one another, because a person who is emotionally open, we need to learn how to be around emotions. And that was a major shift for me to do that dance. Yeah.
Yeah. So the closer we get to our unique, authentic self, the more likely we are to connect with someone that is true for us, that is the partner we're supposed to be with.
Yes. And to some, it is the riskiest journey of their life to embark on that journey of relationships, to first, face their authentic self, become like courageous enough to show their authentic self, and then it's the biggest reward to meet a person who matches you on that level. So yeah, authenticity and then consciously relating, like those for me are like two wonderful puzzle pieces. Yeah, I'm curious, how are you feeling by the end of the interview, and what was maybe something new for you?
I really love doing this for the first time. I love to see you shine, and also how the journey towards the hardship that we've been through, the embodying the lessons that we learned, and towards a path of authenticity, and then meeting someone on that level. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's looking back at this, it's definitely I take with me to be true to myself, to let go of the things that don't serve me, and to really just be in that cocooning phase, be in that it doesn't go 0 to 1 all of the sudden. Like, I need some time for myself to step into my own power again, and then trust the universe that the right person will just show up, and you will be there to check their human design and the compatibility. I think that's a very empowering tool, and looking at our conversation, something that a lot of people will value as well.
Yeah. And there's no wrong relationship in that regard. It's more of like enabling how to be with differences. Like, that's what it offers. Thank you very much. That you have done an incredible job. I felt so well guided, taken care of. Wow. And that with such short notice. Thank you very much for sharing this moment and experience with me.
Thank you as well for the opportunity.